Hey y'all, and welcome back to another episode of City Sim Builds. So it's been a while. It's been a minute, for sure. I haven't recorded anything on this channel, I think, in about 9 or 10 months, something like that. I haven't gone back into my YouTube stats in like the YouTube studio really to check, when my last video was recorded, but I think it was about like March or April of this time last year. So I've really stepped away from things for a while. And the main reason for that is because at the time, I think I was doing like 3 videos a week. And honestly, I was just getting really burnt out doing that. So I'm rejuvenated. I want to start doing this again, and I'm excited about Cities Skylines 2. I have some ideas for some new content that I want to put out there. And also, I want to have a healthier approach to making these videos. I think I see myself maybe doing this like twice a week in terms of releasing a video. And today's going to be a shorter video for sure, because I'm just coming back into things. I'll be honest, I haven't really played much of City Skylines 2. I've played maybe about 5 hours worth. And compared to other creators out there, that's not a lot at all. But I've definitely seen some of the negative and positive things associated with the game, and I am hopeful that this game can really be something as time goes on. My sentiments are in watching some of the other creators out there make videos about City Skylines 2 is that the game is pretty half-baked. But things seem to be getting better and better. I think there was a release about a month ago or a few weeks ago, whatever this build number is down here for the release. But I think things since then have been better, at least in terms of performance. But the game still has a long way to go. But I want to start with some housekeeping items up front. I want to talk about what I want to do with at least this first series I'm going to start. I do want to start a new game, and I do want it to be mainly a vanilla game. So when I first got this game, I poked around at the stock maps that came with the game. There were 10, I believe, at the time. They've added Sunshine Peninsula and Coral Ridges, I think, in the last update. But the one that speaks to me the most is this one, Barrier Island. And I think some other creators have used this as a starting point for their series, or what videos they're making. And I know some people have already started to make new maps and everything like that. I'm not going to get into that right now. But the main reason this one speaks to me is because when I look at the coastline here and how you have like a sound in between, this really honestly strikes home for me, because I live in North Carolina and we have these barrier islands off the coast of North Carolina. So this one really speaks to me. Also, looking at it, the buildable area is kind of decent. I mean, there's a lot of water on this map, but it's 41%, and you have, all the outside connections you want. You have a decent amount of all the natural resources. So this one looks really good to me. So we're going to start with this map, and the name of this series is not going to be Newville. It's going to be Banks County. And I draw inspiration for Banks County from the Outer Banks here in North Carolina. So my goal for this is to balance my love for North Carolina and the coast of North Carolina. But I want to do it in a different way. I want to incorporate some European elements into this build. I really want to bring in some of the transport and urban planning guidelines that countries like the Netherlands and Belgium and Denmark, and to some extent, I guess, like France and Germany, that they use. So instead of a lot of stroads and things like that, and if people don't know what a stroad is, it's there's a really good YouTube video I'll link down below that explains what that is. But basically, it's a road that serves too many uses for bicyclists, pedestrians, people driving in cars, freight traffic, transit, but it doesn't really do any of that very well. My goal for this is to get away from some of the ways that we do things here in the US in terms of urban planning and apply that to an area to me that at least feels familiar. I mean, with this map, we have the coast, we have, to some extent, the Piedmont, and then we have the mountains. But I'm really going to be treating this as like looking at like a coastal region. I'm not going to be worried about the mountains too much. So with that, let's kind of jump into things. So right off the bat, I really want to zoom out and take a look at this area. So in North Carolina, we have these barrier islands, like I mentioned, and they actually look a lot like this, with the exception of this and this here. These are kind of anomalies, but in North Carolina, you have these string of barrier islands called the Outer Banks, and then you have what's called the Inner Banks, where you have a sound in the middle, and you have, a river system and, little bays and coves and things like that. I think, we'll start here, and there are a few things I want to do here. I want to build beach-style communities. I want to build fishing villages. I think over here by the river, it's a logical place to have the county seat for this area. So that will be like the larger city. And we're going to have some other smaller communities over here and maybe over here by these mountains. So we're going to embrace, I guess, a little bit of the mountainous terrain a little bit. But the main focus, again, is going to be on the coast with, things like fishing villages, fishing towns, coastal communities like tourism, things like that. So in today's episode, I want to start off by creating a really basic layout for our first small community. I'm going to extend this road down here. And before we do that, one thing I will likely be doing is, as we buy tiles, actually downgrade a lot of this infrastructure. I don't like the way that this looks when you first get these sorts of roads and highways and things like that, these like crazy on-ramps. I really just want these to be a 2-lane highway, something very simple and basic. I don't mind the rail being here. I think that makes sense to some extent, but things like this massive, suspension bridge that leads to nowhere, a literal bridge to nowhere, I don't like that. I mean, eventually this is going to lead to hopefully a decent size community over here, or string of communities, I should say. But as we progress, I'm going to downgrade some of these roads. All right, so I'm really thinking that this is going to be the bones of our first little fishing village. I think this area is a great spot for it because, as you see, we already have some roadway infrastructure, and there's this like tiny little house here. But more importantly for fishing, this is a natural harbor. So I think this is a logical place to start. So I'm going to actually upgrade the roads through here. And one thing I'm going to do here is straighten out this bridge and then tie it in. And actually, I'm going to back this curve off a little bit. And by back it off, I mean delete it entirely. I'm going to redo this connection the way I feel like it should be. So I am going to extend this road straight. And then what we're going to have is a roundabout that ties in right here. And this road is going to, actually, let's turn on contours. So this road is going to start off at a 90 and then bend a little bit over this way. Then we have a nice flat area. And I want to see kind of where this might go in the future. So I think it's logical to say that we would have the road kind of follow along this area. That seems to make sense to me. And because here you have some natural, what appears to be like dunes. I think that makes sense. I think they did a good job with this on the map. And one of the issues you have with these barrier island type communities is that we start to build way too close to these dunes. And instead of doing that, we really should preserve these areas over here. So I'm going to find this and bring it over this way. And I think that's good for now. We don't need to go too far. And I want to tie this in over here. And I know this is a 4-lane section right now, but I'm just going to roll with it being like that. And then we're going to come over. So with this, I do want to have some roundabouts here. Oh, look, we already got like a cargo ship over here. That's pretty cool. Let's check that thing out. The thing is full. Wow. All right, so I want this just to be a very basic village, like a fishing village. So I think it might be cool to preserve these old mill ruins, even though, can we like rename this? Yeah. Right now, I'm gonna call this the Johnson House. And if you have a better name for this, please leave that below in the comments, and I'll definitely rename it to something different. And now that I'm looking at Applegate Street, I think I do want to make this straight. So I'm gonna remove that. So I pretty much have redone this whole section, but I am okay with that. So I want this to be straight, and that seems reasonable. I want to check clearance here. I think that's fine, especially here because you have an entrance to the sound over here. So you have ingress and egress over here and over here as well. So I don't think you really need a higher bridge over here for boats to pass under. Hopefully, you know, some smaller boats could pass under there, things like that, but things like sailboats and, you know, larger fishing vessels could not do that, which is perfectly fine, I think, for this scenario. So we're going to keep this little community pretty basic. So I think I'm going to come out to about here, and we're going to go 80 meters out and just have some smaller block sizes. So we'll do 80 by 80. And I know I could use the grid tool, but I'm not a big fan of that tool, so I'm going to stay away from that. And then for the rest of the part of the island over here, I'm going to follow some of the contours to help guide us in how the roads would probably have naturally come about when they were developing this. So I'm going to back that off a little bit, and then we're going to follow some contours around. And I think we'll do like sort of like a ring road. I think something like that. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. I like that. And then from here, we're gonna get kind of like wonky with the streets a little bit. I think we're gonna have some like gravel roads. So communities like this, they probably don't have a whole lot of money. So I think gravel roads would still be something that would be around. Let's add one more road in. Let's do something that comes off like that. And then from here, we'll place some gravel roads that will be part of like the neighborhoods and things like that would be over here. So I think we'll have one spot there, then we'll have another one that comes off over here, and then maybe we have a connection that goes across here. We'll have another one that comes over here like that. And then I think as we get closer to the center of the village, we'll kind of get back to these sort of angular streets here, just so that we have some diversity in the grid. So I think what we'll do is have another road that comes off like this, and then maybe one more connection that comes over like that. Perfect. So for now, I think we're just going to use maybe some wind power, because that is something you do see at the coast. And it looks like the wind is blowing this way. With this, I do know you have a decent amount of noise pollution, and I think for our small community, this would be good for right now though. So I want to keep in mind what we might do in the future with things, how they develop. So I'm envisioning as you get off the bridge, you might start to see some development over here, but I do want to keep things kind of minimal. Then over here, you might have a little bit more development as you approach the village, like on this side. Because, you know, you would expect trucks and things like that would be delivering goods and whatnot. They would have, you know, a pretty decent access over here, but it might be a little bit trickier to get over here and navigate some of the streets over here. So you might have some of the bigger commercial, industrial type areas over here. Well, actually, probably not really much industrial. I'm hoping I can get away with not doing too much industrial on the island right now, and focusing a lot of it over here, but we'll see if I can if I can make it over there. It might be something where we build industrial over here to begin with, and then we do some redevelopment and repurpose the land to be commercial or something like that, or maybe perhaps office. But for right now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this. Maybe, can I build it on a point? Maybe we'll do right here on this point. We'll tie this into our grid over here. Forgot I need to build a transformer right here. Let's tie this in over here. Then I think what we'll do is we'll build a road that comes alongside over here, like a maintenance access road. We're going to curve this way, come back over here. And I went a bit too far with that, so let's revisit this. There we go. I think something like that would be cool. All right, so we definitely need some residential. And I'm gonna target this in a few different locations. I think it's logical to have some lots that were developed, say, next to the main street. You know, these might be some of the more prominent homes that were built when this community first started. So maybe these are larger 4x4 or like 3x3 lot sizes in terms of the units here. Let's add in one 2x3 there. And then we'll come over here, add a few more. All right, it looks like we need some commercial now. So let's put that along the front here. I'm gonna leave a gap right here because we might have like an old gravel road that comes down to this historic landmark. And actually, I'm gonna formalize that now and go ahead and do that. So we have to address some of the other city service concerns that we have. And I think it would be common in a community like this to have a water tower. A good example of this would be in Ocracoke, North Carolina. They have a water tower there. And it's actually like a feature of the town. It's like a landmark. It's not as cool as, say, like the lighthouse, but it's definitely still a landmark for sure. And then for sewage, I think we'll use this area over here as a good spot to dump, unfortunately, sewage back into the sound here. So let's find a decent spot. Maybe put it right there, and then we'll build a road to that. This one can be just a simple gravel road. I think that'll be perfect. And since we have some industrial demand, let's see what might be the best place for that right now. So I don't think it'd be a good idea to place it over here because all that pollution from the industrial sites are going to be blowing into our community over here. So I think what we'll do is build a small targeted area of industrial right over here. And this area may have to grow a little bit, and that's fine. Again, I'm going to try and migrate most of my industrial uses over here as much as I can. But some industrial over here is going to have to be warranted to support some of the population over here on the island itself. We'll go in here and let's just build a stub road off about here. And I really hope that that Colossal Order or Paradox, they fix zoning. It's very frustrating in this game how it kind of manifests. I don't know. But maybe this is just like some smaller industrial type area that would be geared for a community this size. So let's see, we'll do like a 3x3 and then a 4x4, then maybe like one more 3x3. Then maybe we can kind of mirror some of that on this side, but also at the same time get a little bit of irregularity there. and we definitely have some more residential demand, so I'm gonna go in and fill in some of this here. Ooh, and I do not like that view. That view with the zoning is pretty bad. That is something I think I am going to do, which is install some mods for this. Some of the mods I've seen that other creators are using look pretty good through the Thunder store, so I think I am going to explore that. But for the time being, I think this is looking pretty good. Yeah. So we have like our main street filling in right here. I'm actually going to rename this Main Street. And it looks like Main Street, actually, there's probably a better name for this. And it's interesting that this is going all the way, goes all the way down here. Huh. Yeah, and that's something I've seen with other folks as they build. They encounter these sorts of like weird street naming conventions, but maybe we'll call this Flounders Island. Excuse me, Flounders Island Way. And this will be Flounders Island. And whenever we get districts, I'll formalize that. I think King Street actually is probably kind of appropriate. Maybe we can name this one Queen Street. Not that I'm like super monarchy or anything like that, but Concord Street, yeah, I think that's fine. Valley Lane, that doesn't make sense. Let's call this Short Street, because it is probably the shortest street here. Dale Lane, interesting. Yeah, Dale Lane comes down over here. That's kind of confusing. You have two Dale Lanes, so this can't be the case. We'll call this Porter's Avenue, actually Porter's Lane. And I think this is looking pretty good. I like the way this is turning out so far. And we just reached Tiny Village, which was honestly just my goal for this video. We get with that $600,000, we get one progression point. I guess we can unlock 3 tiles if we so choose to do. So, excellent. I want to take a look at the progression panel. So with this, we get access to the city budget, map tiles, city statistics, some different sorts of housing, which I'm not going to probably use right now. A few different roads. Definitely, I'm definitely not gonna use a 5-lane one-way road. Yeah, that's not necessary. A medical clinic, cemetery, garbage, landfill, etc. So, yeah, I think that's honestly gonna do it for today's episode, and we're gonna pick back up here next time. And I think what we're gonna do is use this area over here to start building up some of our city services. We got to think of a good place to put a landfill. I think that's honestly going to be about it for this community. I might come back and do some detailing and things like that once we get some landscaping tools, but for right now, I think that's going to do it. And it looks like we have strong demand and the industrial is down, which I'm a fan of. So with that, welcome back to City Sim Builds, and hope you all are doing well. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. That'd be really cool. But yeah, I'm looking forward to starting Banks County with y'all. And if you have any ideas for what you want to see in this build, please leave that down below in the comments. But with that, yeah, we're gonna wrap things up for today. So hope y'all are doing well. Have a good one. All right, bye.